Hey devs, April here. Welcome back to the Appian Community YouTube channel. We have new developer-focused learning content every week, so make sure that you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video or live stream. In this live stream, we'll be sharing some of the ways in which Appian engineering runs on Appian and how dog fooding helps our engineering team deliver a better product to you. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the stream so that we can answer any questions that you may have. Without further ado, let's get right into it. It's my pleasure to bring out our very special guests, Suvajit, Max, and Tim. Hey guys.
Hey.
All right.
Hey.
So let's go around the horn and do some quick intros, just who you are, how you got involved with Appian, fun fact if you want. Suvajit, let's start with you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Suvajit Gupta. I lead the Appian engineering team. I've been at Appian for over 11 years now. I joined with Max, who's going to go next. And it's been really nice trying to build out Appian for all of you as customers, partners. And today I'm delighted to introduce our Chief Dog Officer, Wally, who has been our inspiration for doing a lot of dog fooding. We'll explain what that is in a few minutes.
Yeah, we're excited to see some great pictures of Wally. All right, Max, let's jump over to you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Max. I've also been at Appian for 11 years. As Suvajit mentioned, we went to Appian Academy and trained up on the platform together. I'm currently the group technology lead for Data Fabric. And fun fact, I've been just spending a ton of time lately this summer going outside and spraying my kids with water and doing other fun outdoor activities.
That sounds pretty fun. We've been having a bit of a heat wave here in Pittsburgh where I am, so I would like to be sprayed. I'll have to come play with your kids outside in the water too. Tim, last but not least.
Hi, Tim Carroll. I've been in Appian for a mere 10 years, so just a little less than Sujit and Max. But I currently am the group technology lead for our AI skills, so hopefully some of you tried them out. And fun fact, I was just telling April, I'm trying to learn guitar, and I'm terrible at it. So hopefully I will be able to actually play some songs in the not distant future. But
I believe in you. You got this.
Thank you.
All right, so let's jump into it. Dog fooding. Some of you may have heard this term before, but for people who haven't, Suvajit, can you just tell us a little bit about what the heck is dog fooding and why does it matter? We have a couple of slides here to finally introduce Wally.
Yeah, absolutely. So software companies, when they use their own software, some people like to call it dog fooding. You eat your own dog food. Other people like to say drink your own champagne. I know the latter is more palatable, but this was a way for us to kind of get our team excited. There's nothing like pictures of puppies to rally the troops. So if you show the next few slides, I'll just kind of hit a few highlights about why we do dog fooding. So first is there's nothing like using the Appian platform and all our feature set as the engineering team. We gain empathy with all of you as you use Appian every day and the joys and the lowlights of the things that need to improve. So we gain empathy by walking in your shoes. Number two, next slide. We get to experience Appian from various viewpoints, whether you're an end user like Wally on the left, or maybe you're put on the hat of an Appian developer. We have a third new persona, the Appian analyst, right? Anytime you build apps in Appian, this pyramid is a good guide, right? It has to be functional to do what it needs to do. You want it to be efficient, not lots of clicking, scrolling. You want it to be intuitive. You want people to walk up and be able to use the app and get value quickly. And especially if you're spending a lot of time with Appian, it might as well be beautiful, right? So we make sure that as we build Appian out for all of you, these are the things we keep in mind. And every day we use Appian, we find bugs, we get ideas, and we continue to improve the platform for all of you. And then finally, another hidden benefit of dog fooding is that we have a very strong quality engineering team, and they do find bugs in what the software engineers build. But what happens about regressions? Regressions are those things that creep in later, right? Somebody changes a line of code, breaks 5 things somewhere else, right? We have all of our Appianites, over 2,000 of my colleagues, they use Appian every day. We run Appian on Appian, especially the engineering team. And anytime we break something, they will complain. And we can catch those mistakes before they go out to all of you. So that's in a nutshell the 3 reasons that we do dog fooding. And we're here to talk more about some of those details.
Yeah, That's a really, really great intro. So thank you for that. And of course, it's great to see the pictures of Wally. So I must say that for me personally, when I joined Appian and I, quickly got to know some of you because I worked with the app market and you all, were involved with submitting utilities and things to the app market. It gave me a lot of confidence that, the engineering team, they're building a product that they actually use, they're actually in all the time, and all the way up to, the head of engineering, you, Suvajit. It really gave me a lot of confidence and just got me very excited about working with this product. So maybe for each of you, could you just share how you got involved with dog fooding? Maybe Max, we can start with you and then go up the ladder.
Sure. As Suvajit and I mentioned, we've worked together for a while. We used to, we've always been interested in doing side projects. And for a long time, we were doing side projects to enhance the platform and add new features. And at some point we said, there's an opportunity here to use low code, our own platform, and build a lot of tools to operate our department. And we really started shifting our side projects towards that. And we got hooked, right? Like we were like, let's try out this, let's try it out. I'm a high code developer. I started it and it's really rewarding seeing how productive I can be and just getting a lot done. I can deploy changes, implement a change and deploy it in one day and make an impact just with a little bit of my side time. And, with a dedicated amount of time, we can build something really awesome. So it's been like we started as an experiment and it's kind of taken off. We really got into it.
Yeah. Tim, what about you? And maybe like a project that actually we'll get into your projects because we're going to go into AI first. But yeah, how did you get involved and why do you keep doing it?
Yeah, really similar story, and my reason why I enjoy it has changed over the years and evolved as my career has evolved. But I too was working on a lot of side projects with Suvajit. Those hierarchy fields, for example, were something that Suvajit and I worked on and got shipped as indie time, as we call it. But yeah, over time, I too am a high code developer. It became more and more rewarding to be able to actually, get something out really quickly, especially as, become more senior, managing people, managing projects. I don't actually get to do hands-on keyboard coding as much as I would like. And so it's like great to be able to log in and actually, get something accomplished in a short period of time for what time I have. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and Sujit, what about you? Probably as an executive, you are very busy. I've seen your calendar. It's pretty amazing how you keep track of it. So, why is it important to you to dedicate time to being in the product that you're leading?
Yeah, so I'm like the other two of them. I'm a software engineer. I do have a master's in software engineering. I spent the first about a third of my career being a hands-on developer. And then I got promoted and got into management and leadership. And so I spend the bulk of my day now in lots of different things besides coding. So I try to keep some of our time at the end of the day to pair code with people smarter than me, like Max and Tim, and kind of stay sharp. It allows me to actually understand the product every quarter when we build new features. I get to personally experience it. I actually got a hoodie from our quality director because we find more bugs than some of our testers, actually. So we use Appian every day. There's nothing using the product to find problems and ideas. And so that's one thing I get a lot of payback from just using Appian every day. I get to work with a lot of people that I normally wouldn't spend time with. So that's another huge advantage, being a member of the team, learning about, new technologies. And lastly, I think that, we have a lot of things to do in Appian, and I like to tell people I have a, enterprise license for Appian we can use as much as we want. So every time we have an idea, we're able to just build it in Appian very quickly. And it is true, Appian is the ultimate clay. Most recently, we are trying to switch to using OKRs, objectives and key results. So as we adopted that playbook, we started off in a spreadsheet, and now we just built an Appian app that manages our OKRs. And we did that in a matter of months, right? And that's really the power. It's just idea to production, like really quickly. It is true. That's what low code can do for you.
Yeah, it really is amazing having an idea. And even, you three work together all the time, but even as an individual, you have an idea, you can bring it to life and be a true full stack developer working on every part, every piece of it. So, Thanks for all you do for the platform. Let's jump into some examples of things that have come out of dog fooding. So we're going to start with AI, and Tim, I'll throw it to you to maybe talk us through some examples. And of course, Max and Subhajit, if you have anything to add, please do. While you get started, Tim, I have heard from my producer that my normal mic, there's something wrong with it. So I'm going to try to find a different cord for that while I hand it over to Tim. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. All right. So this first thing we have a little screenshot of is, I don't know if you've heard of Record Chat. It came out in 23.4. So it's a component that lets you chat with, a record and all of its related records, the whole nested tree of data. So this is something where, when we all remember, I think, as LLMs have grown more and more, and just the hype and everything, there's just, everyone wants to try something out. And the really cool thing about Appian, of course, is that it's pretty easy to get started with stuff. And so, we have direct access. Our instance of Appian has direct access to things that, say, AWS offers. You can also hook up to, of course, something like a GPT or something like that. Any of these services. And we thought, let's try something out. Let's see what sticks. Get something in front of some people on our internal instance of Appian. Figure out what's useful. What is actually going to bring value. And we have, as we've talked about, or as we're kind of getting to, a lot of Appian actually runs on Appian. Our sales team uses Appian. Our engineering team uses it for all of our team management, our project management. So we also, of course, have Forum, which you all have seen, that is built on Appian. And so we actually just built out a prototype for Records Chat using just kind of the out of the box stuff and integrations. Something that I built out along with a few other developers on our team, and we tried a bunch of different iterations really quickly. It got in front of people far faster than we could with the sort of built-in high code approach. And Record Chat came out of it. Was a very successful prototyping endeavor. And as someone who knows the product and has been working in it for a while, I actually started in consulting. I was not always in the engineering department. So I started in consulting, so I have a lot of experience with it. And I am always going to say, well, if we can prototype something in an app, we might as well, because it'll, get it out there a lot faster and see if it actually is useful.
Yeah. I mean, that's the wonder of having Sail. Also, does my mic sound better? I think the new mic is plugged in. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that's part of the power of Sail, right? Is like, it's, we don't just have the drag and drop capability. We could get our hands in there. We can use integrations. We can build things out and prototype them and do so much with the base platform. And get the ball rolling and then hand it over to you guys and say, all right, build it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What other examples? So I know we have one about semantic search. Anything you wanted to say on this one, Tim?
Yeah, this one's really cool because, I mean, obviously, we don't have this exposed built into the product quite yet, but this is something where I personally have been really interested in figuring out how easy or hard is it to get semantic search working using just integrations. So, we have some AWS credentials, so spun up one of their semantic search engines. It's OpenSearch, if anyone's curious, and basically built out the process of syncing data to the OpenSearch collection, as it's called, the index, going through the process of picking out what fields should be, indexed to converted, vectorized, and actually syncing it to the database and keeping it in sync and all that stuff. And really gave me an appreciation for our data sync because it was a huge pain. But actually, let me take a step back. I guess not everyone probably knows what semantic search is. So the idea with semantic search is that you take text, and these language models, they all talk in numbers, right? And so you actually use a language model to create a numeric representation of the text. And these numbers have really interesting properties. I don't have time to go into the details of how this works, but at the end of the day, you find yourself putting in text, getting out a series of numbers, and the relationship between these numbers actually shows that there is meaning in them. And so the fun example, you all could go out and Google this, but if you were to take the numeric representation of king and you subtract the numeric representation of man and you add the numeric representation of woman, you actually get something that is almost like, that is very close numerically to queen, right? And there's a really cool bunch of really cool write-ups on this, but you can see then how if you have this situation where the numbers have meaning, you can create really powerful search because there are formulas that can see how similar are these two series of numbers. And so the idea with semantic search is you'll take all the text in your system, you'll convert it to numbers, you'll put it in this database. And then when you type out text, we'll also use the same conversion and then compare the series of numbers against everything that's stored. So you get a much more powerful type of search because it's not looking just at the exact words like keyword search. It's actually trying to figure out, it actually represents the actual meaning. So you can see here in the example, searching for resource allocation, and the top hit is capacity planning. Because those words semantically, like the meaning of them are pretty similar, even though the words themselves are not at all related.
Yeah, Tim, if you remember, actually, when we had done search on another part of Appian, we use the soundex function because that allows you to have things like typos, right? Let's say for capacity planning, you put an extra N, it would still match and it would find it. But then once AI came around, this is even more powerful because you can see that there's no way a search would map a resource allocation to capacity planning, but as humans, we know that's the case. And here's a great example of us trying to improve our search and make it even more fuzzy and human-like. And so it's really good to get into the product, and hopefully we'll get these things out to all of you as capabilities soon.
Yeah, but this is something that basically for our internal application, tried out building it. It's just a difficult thing to set up because there are a lot of moving pieces, and keeping data in sync between systems can be hard to do. So we're definitely looking to see how this could be brought into the product. And I'm sure that, well, I can tell you, I've been talking with people based on the fact that I, implemented this and talking to them about how we can make this possible.
Hearing things like this is like so exciting. Hearing that, in our engineering team, we have people like you guys who are really nerding out about the latest and greatest tech and playing around with it, seeing how we can put it in. So even if, you out there as an Appian developer don't have the time or aren't as interested in getting into the weeds about those things, eventually they come in the product and you're able to build with them easily. And then you look like a genius to your end user when you're able to quickly implement all of that stuff. So thank you for those things. You said a few things that are good segues into, we're going to get into data fabric, but on the way to data fabric, let's talk a little bit about joining between data and AI with some sample data. So we showed this in our past couple live streams ago, and I'm sure more will come out, but generate sample data, which is now in records and in expression rules, this is the hot new tech. This is incredible. This is the thing that gets so many claps there. And then maybe, Tim, you could brief on the AI part, and then maybe throw it to Max, and we could get more into the data side of things and talk about more data fabric features. But yeah.
I mean, this is really just this is bread and butter generative AI. It is generate in the name, right? So really, really perfect kind of use case for it, and really straightforward and easy to understand why it'd be useful. Because I mean, we've all gone to demo an app and you're like, every one of these records is test 1, 2, 3, Everyone is named like Mike Smith or whatever, and all the data is just terrible for testing. Like, wait, what is the widget 1 supposed to be? Is that what are you? And so actually being able to generate real looking sample data, I know for me at least, super useful if you're trying to demo an app, and I hope that people feel the same way.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're saying they do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know I did. I know it got great feedback every time I talked to a developer about it. And then not just for demos and showing sample data, but then also generating test cases. This is really, we know we get lazy with testing, and this is, God bless the QA team, QEs and everything, but having to write my own test cases, it could be tough. So having Appian do it for you and do it in a smart way, and if you generate and then you press generate again, it will create new ones and try and cover all the cases. It really is just so wow. Max, tell us a little bit about data stuff. And,
I'd love to
getting into.
I'd love to chime in, April, and as a developer, I'm not particularly. I feel like I'm pretty good at writing code. I'm not particularly good at generating sample data, and not always good at generating the right test cases. So it's awesome to have those tools that help me get started, and then I can go in and tweak things and make them just how I want them, right? We tried the sample test data in terms of dog fooding. We tried it internally, and it worked better, did a better job than we were doing already. So it was to Tim's point, let's not have test 1, test 2, test 3, and it would just
that's also a good point. Thing about Appian allows you to stay in charge, right? So it's not like it generated it. It will suggest these to you. You might say, the first 2 don't make sense. I'm going to delete them and add 3 more. So this idea that our CEO Matt Cochran talks about mixed autonomy, right? You're still in charge. We always tell people you can't put AI in jail, right? It's still your decision. So it allows you to look at what it does, the grunt work for you, and then you get the final say to say, if it's good, accept it. But if not, you can then adjust it some more. So I really love that aspect of how we blended AI into everything in Appian.
Yeah, and that really feels like the true essence of Appian in a lot of ways as well, because I remember when I first joined and going on docs and having recipes, and okay, I can copy this over. I have a great starting point, and I can change the things that I need to change. And now that's built into the product with templates, and you can create your design library and do all these things. But that has always been the way of Appian development, is let's not reinvent the wheel 20 times. We have so many things that are getting us 80% of the way there, and we can change the 20% for what we need. And AI is just another huge accelerator to that. Okay, back to Data Fabric, because this is really when record relationships came out, and I know initially on the first release, it's all right, synced records. What am I getting out of this? It's not that many.
50,000 rows.
Right. Where's this going? But as we've seen with every release over the past few years, just the capability is growing and growing and growing, and allowing us to do so much more. And I think, it really is just such a game changer for Appian. I'm sure developers tuning in, you feel the same now that you're bought into records at this point. Because I know when it first came out, I felt like I was really trying to get people to use it, and now we've sold it. So what else, Max? Are we seeing here? What things have come from dog fooding in terms of Data Fabric? Maybe you could tease some things that are coming. I don't know. Where do you want to start with this? I have a couple slides.
It's been quite a journey, so there's a lot we could talk about here. Before we even get into those slides, I wanted to say there's actually a natural transition I hadn't even realized before here, where we're talking about sample data generation. Well, it's not really about just one record type. We were looking at record type designer there, and you're generating sample data for a record type. Well, with record relationships, if you actually want to test across many record types, right? You've probably got many different record types related in your data fabric, and you really want to test across all those. And if they're if you're using one generation, test generation, paradigm over here and a different over there, it doesn't really make sense when you stitch the whole data fabric together. And so with record relationships, that a good data generation actually becomes even more relevant. So speaking about record relationships, you mentioned when did data fabric started? It was okay, we had a great vision, we thought, then we had to prove ourselves, right? And record relationships was one of the features we released that really started to help people see the value of the data fabric,
really
right? Sorry, Tim? Go ahead.
It really clicks with the relationships. I feel like it's just so much naturally easy to think about your app and stuff like that.
And the fact that you can relate data easily without writing like high code joins, and you can do that across different source systems, right? You can have, this web service like we use internally. We're talking about dog fooding right here on this screenshot that April's showing. On the bottom here, we've got some metrics, some KPIs, right? Well, these are live sourced from Jira, right? And so this is Jira data being sourced through, the data fabric, and it's over a web service. And then there's RDBMS data in here, and you've got users through the user service in Appian, and you've got all kinds of stuff. But you know what? It's all joined into this one screen. So it makes it so much easier as a dog fooder to be able, like I'm not seeing both sides here. It's interesting having worked on it, but then also using it, right? And I get to see both sides. So using it, I truly believe in the more I use it, data fabric and apps, the more I'm like, we've built something awesome here, because we can build a UI like this really easily with just hopping across relationships and pulling a bunch of aggregating data from different sources together and showing it in one screen here live.
Yeah, it would be good though to point out like how much, Max, I feel like you push the boundaries of what we can do with relationships and things like that. That last view, I know some of these UIs are crazy. So it's like, it's really, really useful for you're working on the data fabric. You also are seeing how far you can take it with how many relationships, how deeply you can nest it, how big of a UI you can create with sort 20 records sourcing it. And I'm sure you found that useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Max, if I can jump in for a second, I can speak for myself. Like I can write SQL. I've done my database classes, got good grades, but like I really don't enjoy writing SQL, especially when it comes to complex views, stored procedures. Tim's good at that stuff, but I'm so glad I don't have to do SQL anymore. Right? This is amazing. We can have an idea, we whiteboard it, and then soon thereafter with records, relationships, all the row level security, we got these apps built really, really quickly. Anecdotally, from one of our partners, I heard recently that some of their newer hires are actually more productive than their experienced people, because the platform has improved so much. The experienced people have to unlearn CDTs and all the old stuff and SQL, and now they can just do it directly in Appian. So that's really cool. I'm just delighted by some of these changes that we've seen both in the front end and the middle tier with data fabric and some of the sale improvements.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Subhajit. It's something we've seen over the years in our live build challenges is a lot of times the winners are not the people who have the most experience. In some cases, it's the newest developer that ends up winning, because they're jumping in and learning from the latest and greatest and the fastest and everything. And I know, you guys just make it hard to keep up. Every 3 months, we got a new feature set we have to learn, but it does make your life easier. It's worth the investment to get into it. A lot of them do feel so intuitive and natural and Appian-y to just like get in and start learning. But it's not too late to be an Appian developer and to become a great Appian developer. And it's that's what I have to say there. Did someone have something?
Oh yeah, I just have a quick story. If we have time, I have a quick story about this.
Please.
Yeah, so I mean, I run a program in Appian where we give our software to DC Central Kitchen. And the first app we built required just this crazy series of stored procedures. It took basically, 70% of the time we spent building this app was stored procedures, because the concept was this meal planning. So DC Central Kitchen, they distribute meals to other charities. And something I didn't have a lot of appreciation for was how hard it is to manage calendar concepts in databases, recurring things, because databases are about like the discrete data you have, whereas recurring calendar events are infinite. Like in theory, they could go on forever. Really hard to model in a database. The only way we could get it working was these stored procedures. We tried to do, views and whatever. The queries were taking literally 20 seconds. switched to stored procedure and took 600 milliseconds or whatever. Then this was right before records. Records come out, record relationships come out. I killed all of them. I killed all the stored procedures. Everything was now able to be modeled in records, and I was blown away by this because the query performance was the same as it was when we were using stored procedures, except I didn't have to do any of that stuff, and I was amazed by it. So, Max, and thank you for building these features.
Tim, that reminds me of one quote. I love to say that good developers write code and great developers kill code.
Yeah.
So just recently, Max and I, we have a lot of these apps running on Appian, our intranet, and so on. And so a new component came out to lay out the cards in a grid. And we just went and switched over to that. And we've been deleting like pages worth of code because it's just faster, easier now. So yeah, I don't know. I always like it when I can just delete lots of stuff I wrote a while ago with something better.
Speaking of feature sneak previews, April, right? There's one part group layout.
Ooh. You heard it here first. Max teasing the future here. But yeah, no, all the new components that come out that that's just like part of the joy of working with Appian is, I'm a big proponent of the app market. I tell everyone all the time, go check out the app market, see what great things are there. These three here have all contributed, but you see things on the app market, you use them, and in a few releases, sometimes they are out of the box, or patterns. We see people using the same interface patterns all the time. Hey, let's make a component that makes it super easy to set up, especially a lot of things when you have records already set up, these record back components that it is so much faster to just drag and drop and fill out 2 fields, and suddenly boom, it appears and you look like a UI genius out of nowhere. With Data Fabric, so I want to talk a little bit about integrations. I know, Tim, you have a little bit of a story about web service back records, and maybe I can ask you this question from the chat that I personally don't really understand. I'm just going to throw it out there and see if one of you guys knows. So Sergio asked, mutual TLS with body signing and encryption with certificates in normal integrations, how to smiley face. Do you know what that means?
Yeah. I think I know what they're talking about here. I mean, mutual TLS, right? There are a few different ways that could be. There are a few different things that could be referring to. If you're talking about like outbound calls, I believe that our integrations.
You may have stumped Tim and given him something he'll have to find later and put in the comments.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that the integration object. I think that they will, trusted certificates that you have in the admin console. So that will work with them. But I think we know mutual TLS is something people are interested in. But I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not still working on that stuff. I used to work. That used to be my job 4 years ago, but I've lost touch with it. So I don't want to give some wrong information.
Yeah. Sergio, thanks for asking the question. If you have questions about dog fooding, we'd love to hear those questions, and not just put Tim on the spot with some of these things. So let's get back into dog fooding, Tim. I know you had a story maybe you wanted to tell about your use of web service back records, how that leads into other things with features and things like that. So I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, so web service records that are backed by web service calls. I've had a few different names over the years, and I have been very involved with them for a very long time, because when I first started at Appian in our engineering department, one of my first tasks as a product manager was to rewrite the documentation for service-backed or web service-backed records, or what have you. It was really, I don't know, I feel like I was being hazed. That was a really difficult task. I think that the doc I ended up writing was something like 2,000 lines in the markdown that we write our documentation in. So it equated to 10,000 words or something like that. It was a huge document. And I just was so frustrated by it, truthfully. It wasn't the easiest thing to configure. And, fast forward 5 years, we hadn't really touched them much. Everyone knew that they could use some love. And I got kind of fed up with it and just pitched this whole idea of switching up how this works and trying to make it easier to do. I don't know, any of you remember RSP bang query? Anyone listening who does, I'm sorry, but I remember that, honestly.
I think pulled back for good reason, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But when we switched, I pitched this idea of switching off of all of this stuff and revamping it. And I'm so happy to report that, of course, so many of you have no idea what I'm talking about. And
that's a good thing, maybe.
Yes, that's a very good thing. I'm so glad, because I had to build it. It basically was spurred. Me pitching the idea of changing, it was spurred by trying to build another one of them on our internal site, and just being so like, how is this still so hard to do? Our product is so easy in so many ways, and this thing is just this sore spot. This is like 5 years ago. But dog fooding, sometimes it's champagne. A lot of the time I feel like it's champagne, but
Tim, I think I remember at some point we had a list that you could count on one hand of the people in Appian engineering that had successfully built a service-backed record, right? And it was like 2 or 3 people, right, had ever been able to successfully do it. And, as you're describing now, it's like dozens and dozens and dozens, right? It's a whole different story.
He just walks you through it now, and it's so much more intuitive. And a lot of it is spawned, or a lot of the changes are spurred on by people like myself trying it out, being really frustrated and being determined to change it.
Yeah. So, the people building the product, they are empathetic to things that y'all are going through. They're dealing with it themselves, and they're using it as inspiration to make the product better and, forward-looking to all these exciting things to come. And maybe this, Max, we could throw it back to you really quick, and then we'll get into some total experience stuff with Suvajit. But something that is now our hot new tech that the building of Data Fabric is helping us to build kind of this on top of it. And I'm talking about Process HQ and Insights, of course. And you may also see something else, audience, on this slide, which is dark mode, which I know a lot of people are interested in. And I don't know if you have things to say about that, but I'm going to throw it to you now, Max.
Sure. Yeah. So we've launched, what we call Process HQ, which combines the ability to look at your process mining insights and your Data Fabric insights together. And I'll talk specifically here about Data Fabric insights because I'm the Data Fabric guy, right? In Data Fabric insights, it's basically our ability to allow end users without application development to do reporting, which is really cool, right? Like one of the huge values of Data Fabric is when we looked out and saw customers is having challenges navigating the complex space of doing transactional data and then moving that over into, through ETL or something into some other system to do the reporting. That's a challenging problem on some, you got to do data refreshes, et cetera. We wanted to make the Data Fabric work for kind of all the cases. You can do transactional live data changes and then report on that in real time. So now that's surfaced all the way through Process HQ into end users here. So in this example, Suvajit and I gave a talk on dog fooding at Appian World this year, and we wanted to both going into Appian World, we want to say, okay, let's report on how well we're doing internally on dog fooding. And so here's a report. We quickly went into Data Fabric Insights, and we're like, okay, by release, what percentage of the features are dog fooded or not? Because we track that internally. And we've actually found that we could do even a little bit better than we're doing. We've slipped a little bit over the last couple of quarters, and we could reinforce that it's good to do dog fooding and dog food all features rather than just the most opportune ones.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in with a couple of stories. So that every feature in Appian has a paw print, and I'm not kidding. It's got a dog's paw print, Wally's paw print, to show whether we're dog fooding it. We actually have to fill that out. It's a required field, so that unless you have a good reason why you can dog food, you're expected to make a plan and do it, and then keep it running on Appian. So we did this report, and it actually highlighted that in some areas that we weren't necessarily, following that pattern. We were able to double click on that, find those people, and kind of talk to them. So these really help us, keep the team on track with our processes. Another fun fact, we don't have a picture here, but with Process HQ, it can actually go even further. It sits side by side with this data reporting, and it'll give you those insights that maybe you find out the reasons that you're not dogfooding. Maybe there were too many bounce backs as people are building the software. So we could then go make a change and then in real time take action on it and see if that helped. So these really get us excited because the features that we're building, we get to experience it and improve it as it goes out the door. Oh, and one other quick story, Max. Do you remember dark mode is there in the product now? But I remember the first dark mode app in Appian. It was built by Max. One of our sites is our development site, and we have sites for our product management team, for our managers as they manage the teams and so on. But one of the sites is for our developers, being a software company, and that's where we run all our continuous integration, CI/CD jobs, and so on. And we thought that to experiment with dark mode, Max actually flipped that UI into dark mode. It took a lot of effort because not all CL components at that point supported it. And then years later, now we have dark mode, directly supported in some of our offerings. But Max, do you remember that the first time? So many bugs with components that wouldn't work in dark mode.
Oh my gosh, so painful. Sujit, that's a great example of where dogfooding helped us find the pain before customers, right? I remember, I think I spent weeks on that just to flip to dark mode, right? Because it was tedious, and it's come a long way since then. We're still working on it, and it's continuing to get better. But yeah, that's a great example.
So is all this dark mode for end user stuff I see another question from Sergio about this also, but is dark mode something in the future the developers can expect, maybe in Appian Designer? Maybe, you guys can't spill anything about this or not on the roadmap, but I know as developers, you probably appreciate people like using dark mode when they're working.
Yeah, there's a couple concepts here that are important to distinguish. Maybe like in Appian product language, right? There's dark theming where we have different themes. I can do charcoal, navy, plum, etc. And then there's true dark mode where the end user can toggle for UI. I want to see this one way versus the other. And we started with the theming and are enhancing our SAIL components to allow apps to be built to be themed the way the users want them. And then we do plan to eventually get to a true dark mode once we've built out the more core capability.
So another great example of, similar to sync records, it's like little by little, you're teasing it out. You guys are trying to be really iterative and figure out how you can do different things. And then, Appian Designer is Appian, right? And so one other thing, and this is actually kind of maybe a good segue into sites and talking about total experience. Suvajit, you mentioned engineering has a lot of sites that they use. And before sites, what did you guys do? And, obviously Tempo was a big thing. I don't know how many people are truly using Tempo anymore. Anyone in the chat, if you are, I'd love to hear it. But, I guess why do we still even have Tempo? What'd you do before Tempo? Can Tempo be hidden from the Process HQ navigator? Tempo questions.
Yeah, so maybe you can go to the next slide. We might have some pictures of sites and all that. So yeah, Tempo is still there. People use it. We don't want to break any of your existing apps. One nice thing about Tempo from years ago is that it is what we call a universal client. You don't actually have to build anything. You build your design objects and it just automatically shows up, packaged into actions, reports, and records. So for people that are power users, I still think that if you want to go to something quickly, it's not a bad experience. And then you can navigate to the right place and start using Appian. However, things like sites like this, it allows you to really carefully, make that curated experience, right? I mentioned that we have sites for developers. Well, for that persona, we ask those people, what do you do as you build software? And then the pages of the sites directly reflect those experiences. So it's easier to sort of get to and understand walk-up usable experience. Now with sites, when we built sites many years ago, we started with 5 pages. That was because 5 tabs would fit on a phone. And then I was waiting to see how long that would last. Somehow we managed many more years with just those 5 pages. But in the last couple of years, you've seen now you can have up to 10 pages on a site, and each page has up to 10 sub views and so on. So it's really now you have 100. We went from 5 to 100. Hopefully that'll keep you all happy for a bit. But I love sites because it again allows you to kind of lay out the experience that you want. Right. This is an example of our delivery site. Right. We have the investments that we're making. What are those OKRs, objectives I talked about? what are the plans, schedules, how do we track execution, and so on and so forth. So it really lays out the experience that we want. And that's what I love about sites, right? And then we've taken that idea. I don't know if you have a picture of Portals, but Portals takes it out to the outside world, right? When you have, for example, here's a good example of a portal. This is an anonymous user. Let's say that at Appian, if we have a security incident, you can just go to a public-facing portal and just submit that. And it's the same interface technology SAIL that you know and love. And you can build it, drag and drop, point and click, and then deploy it as a portal. And now it's available at much higher volume to anonymous users and so on. And we've also worked a lot on making, this is not an exciting looking page because it's about reporting a security incident, but when you have more engaging ones like this, right, like we have a whole design system now that allows you to build those really engaging experiences, especially for your outside users. If they're vendors, partners, suppliers, or customers, right, you really want to get that UX appeal. And we've been working very hard on giving you that branding, that custom look and feel, getting to pixel perfect, right? That's kind of our goal. We compete with custom software, which of course takes 20 times longer. So we're trying to keep you on Appian and get as close to these really curated experiences as possible. But I just want to highlight that with our improvements on the UI side, you can make these really cool looking UIs that people will enjoy.
Yeah, the UIs really have come such a long way. We're coming up close to our time here, so last call for questions in the chat. But speaking of total experience and all the amazing things we can do with UIs now, I'd love to hear from each of you if you have like a specific component that was like a wow, or you were like really proud of, or something that really made you start realizing, oh, Appian is not just functional. We can actually get to, that pyramid that we showed earlier. We can get to the beautiful, intuitive experiences. Maybe, Max, we could start with you and move up with components you're happy about, maybe that were involved with dog fooding, something like that. Oh, we lost Max audio. Let's see.
All right, I'm back. There was a little noise around my area for a minute ago. I'll do two quick examples. One, for a small thing, side-by-side was a huge game changer. The side-by-side layout, the ability to very carefully control how things lay out on the screen and get high density, game changer. The other one I'm really proud of is I worked on the component plugin framework and the ability to now provide component plugins. Like I can put Google Maps in Appian, right? It's like, or whatever custom integration we're using, and put that UI integration directly in Appian is super powerful. Yeah.
Oh, when component plugins came out, I was having so much fun using all of them. And thank you. Thank you for your work on that. Tim, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, both great things that Max mentioned. I also worked on our plugin frameworks, component plugins a little bit, mostly connected system. But in terms of a component that I really love, I mean, I love cards. They are, especially when you combine them with like column layouts and stuff, it actually, I do some high code for front end and mostly a back end high code developer. But for that reason, I guess I hate trying to work with CSS and just make anything look good. And cards, columns, side by side can give you so much of what you're looking for in just creating a nice looking UI, and they are so much easier.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate them for that.
Yeah. And especially with, even little enhancements to cards coming out every release, shadows, padding, borders, like
exactly.
It really is incredible how much you can do with cards. In our last live stream where we talked about our hackathon, we had some UI experts on talking about some do's and don'ts with cards, because I know we can get a little card happy, but generally such a powerful tool. So amazing. Sujit, we'll end with you here on your favorite TX things, and then we'll close out our stream here today.
Well, Max and Tim stole my favorite features, but in addition to cards on side-by-side and columns, which you can do amazing things, you saw many examples. I also like rich text quite a bit. It's evolved a lot, and it allows you to build those KPIs and make the UIs really pop. So things like this, and we've also got great guidance on how to use it, the colors, the fonts, the balancing, making it harmonious. So I think with all those features, you can build those really compelling UIs. I also just want to remind people, we use our mobile capabilities quite a bit. Like I'm often in a meeting and I get a request to approve something. I can look at it. I might, enter a security incident, right? Like there's things that I can do from the mobile device, and every one of our UI, some of those you saw earlier, you can just see that it automatically just runs on mobile. Now we had to do a little tweaks here and there to make it really look good in the smaller form factor, but it does work out of the box, and then you get a lot of more control with is native mobile, page width, and so on, and get that exact experience that you want. But I just want to remind people, you got the mobile app, download and use it.
Yeah.
And some of these things are offline now, so that's the other huge advantage. You can build offline forms that you can use even when there's no internet. And so a lot of those field service type scenarios, I find that those are great with the offline capability.
And it really is amazing when you think about it, because as Appian developers, sometimes we can be on a project for a while, stuck in a lane of, oh, we've only been working on this process model, or we're only working on this UI, and you kind of can sometimes forget the full breadth of capabilities that Appian has. So it is really amazing. I don't work with mobile a lot, but it is true. It's this whole other thing that auto-magically, I love that expression. It's like making you as developers look so good that so quickly you're able to release these full total experiences on different form factors that look good, that work well, that are getting the newest AI capabilities all the time because of these great guys and everyone else in our engineering department. So yeah, this has been so fun. Enjoy your dog fooding. We talked about Wally. This is Wally's Instagram. Scan this QR code if you're interested here. And we also, Max and Suvajit at Appian World actually gave a full-on presentation that I took some of these slides from, and we do have that recording up on YouTube. I think we have another slide with the QR code there. But if you are interested in hearing, instead of this conversation format, hearing the full presentation format, definitely encourage you guys to go check it out. This has been a lot of fun. Sujit, Tim, Max, thank you so much for joining and for your time. Developers out there, I hope that you have taken from this that, everyone here is on your team, in your court, including the whole department that is building the product that you know and love. Any last words from any of you guys?
No, April, thank you. This was a fun conversation. I hope people got something out of it. And of course, we're all available. If you have more questions, shoot them over. And again, looking forward to meeting you all at the next Appian event.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys again. The next live stream will be in a few weeks here, and that will be on Appian 3D Plus. Sam Canet, who you all know from my team, will be leading that one. So yeah, tune in to the next one and have a great day. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks.